Welcome to the Cyclists wind down and release routine. So even though this is a wind down and release routine intended for the end of a long cycling routine, we will be doing just a little bit of engagement, again, with this idea that, if we've been working a certain set of muscles really hard for an extended period of time, one of the best ways that we can nurture that area and restore some balance to it is by creating just a little bit of stability, a little bit of support around those less active muscles so that they can send that signal to release. Now, probably one of the first things we can start off here every time is going to be a little thoracic opening. So I do have two yoga blocks with me. I'm not sure if you have yoga blocks at home. They are a great investment, just two of these yoga blocks, that little 4x2 by like 6-inch line, I think it is. And I'm going to set them up behind us. So I'm going to have a yoga block on the medium height, and it's the wide setting. So it's just that nice big like widescreen TV setting, and you'll just go one height higher to the medium height there behind you. So that's where your skull is going to rest. Now, alternatively, if you don't have yoga blocks, just show you real quick, we're going to be coming down onto the ground, doing our best to goalpost the arms, just feel a little bit of opening here. Now, since I do have the yoga blocks, I'll have one on that low setting, one on that more medium setting. So I like to come down onto the forearms just to really kind of arrange myself here. Worth mentioning, I'm near the wall on purpose. So we will be utilizing this wall in a few different ways. So just take the skull to that second block, make sure that feels comfortable for you. And you may need to like adjust your body a little, shimmy and shake. Sometimes it can take just a little bit of adjusting once you get there. When you feel your two shoulder blades on the back of the ribs, then allow yourself to face the palms up. And also alternatively, we could goalpost the arms. And if it's not comfortable to have them, somewhat hanging out in space, then feel free to, again, bring them down by your side. We're just going to take a few breaths here, just letting this breath be really robust, really full and complete. Again, you want to think of this breath in a 360 way where you're breathing in and feeling that air come from the top to the bottom, the front to the back of the body, sidelines of the ribs expanding, and exhaling, drawing it down, feeling that connection into the core, and just that little bit of gathering together. Take another really full inhale. Again, front to back, top to bottom, sides of the ribs, let them really expand. A-okay for the arms to be by the side or in any other position that feels good. You could even just be like reaching them overhead a little bit with that face of the palm up. But then we'll all go ahead and just take our hands back behind our skull. And then you're just going to gently release off the blocks. So if you're already on the ground, no need to worry about that. We're just taking this block out of our way. So then here on the floor, I'm going to scoot myself just a little bit closer to this wall because we're going to get our feet up on the wall. So you're going to have your knees and your hips at like a 90-degree angle here. So if I walk my feet onto the wall, it doesn't have to be perfect or anything, but there's like this 90-degree bend in the knees, 90-degree bend in the hips. So we want to take this and give a little extension to it. So I like getting the feet up on a wall because it really just helps to elevate and get that space into the low back. And that area can be pretty taut and posteriorly tipped there on the bike. So giving it a little bit of space here, yes, using some of that rooting and that tipping here of the pelvis, but ultimately to restore some neutral. So we're working our glutes with some strength. This is one of those places where we do really want to activate those glutes. They are working when we're on the bike, but the hamstrings certainly working really hard with it. So just allowing that to be a little bit more balanced, feeling some spaciousness in the hips. Let's take about 3 more breaths here. Again, you just want to be able to feel the front to the back of the body, the top to bottom, side ribs getting a little space. And even just for myself being here, I can feel just some really nice releasing around that low back because we're getting the muscles below the low back to really fire up for us, those glutes. Now, real slow, we'll bring ourselves down. And so this will be like a slow articulation where you're coming down from your upper back to your middle back and all the way down to the lower back. You'll feel your sacrum hit the ground. Then since we're already on the wall here, you can press your hands against your legs, curl your tailbone back towards the heels against the wall here, and we'll extend the hips. So just feeling a little hip extension. So bringing it down nice and slow, one vertebrae at a time until that sacrum comes all the way down to the ground. And just one more time here, but you're welcome to do a few more of these little spinal wave hip lifts. Press into the feet, root your tailbone to the heels. So you want to think sacrum, low back, mid back until you're pretty much just up on your shoulders, and then coming all the way back down, just one vertebrae at a time, bringing you towards the floor until that sacrum connects back down into the ground. Awesome. Now from here, let's do a little bit of supine twisting. So once again, I'll show you, if you don't have any yoga blocks, just pull your knees in and you're going to drop all the way over to this right-hand side. If you do have yoga blocks, one is really nice, just any height under the skull that feels good for you. You're sort of acting like a pillow. And then with my other yoga block, I'm going to send my bottom leg long. So, it's just out of the way here. And my top knee, it's still at that space in front of the hip. So my left knee here resting on top of the block at, again, medium height and just a nice long length to rest that leg bone on top of. And then from here, we're again getting a little chest opener, but this time some nice shoulder circles. So you'll take your left hand, stack it on top of the right. I realize mine's kind of drifting off the camera just a bit, but you're going to take that left arm, circle it up, back, and around. And you can either goalpost the arm like I am here, and I'm just really doing that to accommodate for this wall here that's behind me so I don't bump into it. Alternatively, you can also keep the arm straight. Now, it's worth noting, though, that sometimes doing these arm circles, if it feels like pressure inside the shoulder joint or a little bit pinchy or anything, bending the elbow can be really nice just to shorten the lever of the arm and create a little bit more range of motion for that ball and socket joint to explore its space. And next time you're bringing your left arm around, we're going to take it the other way. So again, you can keep both knees in really close towards the torso if you don't have blocks. Otherwise, now you'll come over to the left, send your left leg long, and again, bring this right knee on top of the block. So I'm at that medium height and that nice long length just to rest my shin on top of. Left arm's reaching out just in front of your heart. The right arm stacks so that as we circle it here, we get this wonderful sense of opening up the chest. So again, showing a little bit more of the straight arm demo here, but show you again, you can just as easily bend the elbow, and that might even become a little bit more comfortable. So feel free to take either option. They're both really equally valid. All right, and bring it all the way around. I'm just going to finish off with some quick flow. So come up onto hands and knees. And again, here, it's really, really nice to have some yoga blocks just to get the floor a little bit further away. No worries if you don't have those yoga blocks. You'll just bring your hands onto the ground. Otherwise, we're on this just lowest height, nice wide setting for the yoga block, something to rest your hands on. You're in an all fours quadruped. Push your hand, spread your shoulder blades, and then allow the pelvis to hoist up towards the ceiling. Keep this feeling of lifting your forearms away from the floor. Feel a little bend in the knees. Let the back feel spacious, right? You don't need to round it out anymore. Maybe already spent enough time like that. So we'll step our left foot forward and bring the right knee down. Here's where the blocks can really help just to make that step forward a little bit nicer for you. And as you rise up, we're gonna come up to just this 90-90 low lunge. And I'm gonna take my left hand behind my skull, and my right hand behind my low back here, the sacrum. So pull the skull back in space, feel the shoulder blades draw back together and really root that right glute down. You should feel a little opening in the front right hip here. So again, we're holding the bone structure around the hip, the pelvis really stable. I'm not letting myself collapse forward or pop the ribs. I'm containing the front ribs, spacing out that low back and working my right glute to free the space of the right hip. Again, the skull draws back into that left hand, one hand behind the back. Now you'll bring your hands all the way down, back onto those blocks, slide your left knee back, and let's tuck the toes from this all fours. Once again, pushing the hands, spread the shoulder blades, and just feel that little lift of the pelvis up. Let's step our right foot forward. Left knee comes down. Again, blocks just really nice to help keep that connection through the shoulders. You'll come up again, this little 90-90 low lunge. This time, right hand behind your skull, left hand to the sacrum, that low back. So I'm encouraging my skull to pull back into that right hand. I'm keeping this left hand at the sacrum, making sure my left glute, one, is lifting up into where my left hand is here, taking the pressure out of that knee, creating opening for the front of the hip by engaging the back of the hip, by working that glute. We'll make sure our low ribs aren't protruding forward, dumping into the low back, but that there's really this sense of the spine elongating. And one more big breath here. And we're just gonna finish up with a little shimmy twist move. So you bring your hands down, plant those palms, slide your right knee back again, meets that left, you're in that all fours, tuck the toes, and again, push into the hands, dome just the upper back, and then let that pelvis hoist itself up towards the ceiling. Feet come together and maybe step them a little closer to your hands. Together with the knees, you're going to take a little twist in the lower body to the left, through center, and to the right. So really pay attention to my torso here. I'm not really sinking into one shoulder and the other. There's very little change happening here in the upper body. We want to hold that stable. So as we get our little scrubbing out here of the pelvis, moving that bone structure around the hips from side to side, we're feeling a little plantar fascia opening, the bottom of the foot. We're helping to free this posterior chain. We're just getting a little bit more length into it as well. And then it can feel nice, just come into the middle once you've evened that out, both sides. Just pedal your feet out one at a time, just walking in place, still keeping your hands firmly planted. Again, either on the blocks, down on the floor, but let's feel those forearms like they're lifting away from the floor. Let's really get this opening in the back. And then you'll slow your little heel walks down and knees come down. So feel free to complement that with anything else, but that's just a relatively quick routine to wind it down after a strong cycling regimen. You can even use this as a warm-up, as a little bit of a prep before those rides as well. As always, the light in me honors the light that shines within you, and I bow to that space within you and say namaste.